You ever wondered why our Sonoran Desert is inhabited by pronghorn antelope, like you see here? Cute doe here with her fawns, and not red kangaroos like we find in Australia. So both of these species, they occupy virtually the same ecological niche. They're both large-bodied herbivores foraging on plants in desert environments. Yet one of them, the pronghorn, is a placental mammal, like the vast majority of mammals living in North America, like you and I, meaning its fetus is nourished by a placenta. That's this vascular interface between the mother and her offspring when the offspring is developing in utero, in the uterus. The kangaroo on the right-hand side, like the vast majority of mammals living in Australia, is a marsupial mammal, meaning its young are born very altricial. They're born very underdeveloped. And the tiny little kangaroos, right, not much bigger than my thumbnail, will crawl into an external pouch where they latch onto a teat, and the majority of the development occurs within this pouch, external of the uterus. So why is it that we have placentals in North America and marsupials in Australia? It's not just the herbivores that are distributed in this way. In North America, we have a gray wolf, like you see on the left, a social predator that hunts large herbivores like pronghorn antelope and deer and elk, and is a placental mammal. In Australia, like you see on the right, at least until 1936 when the last one died in a Hobart zoo, there was the thylacine, often called the Tasmanian tiger because of its stripes, or Tasmanian wolf, but it was neither. This was a carnivorous, pack-hunting marsupial. It's much more closely related to kangaroos and koala bears than it is to tigers or wolves. It evolved to hunt large-bodied herbivores. Ranchers didn't like the thylacine because they killed sheep, so they eradicated them when Europeans colonized Australia. But it brings me to this broader question: why? Why do we find placentals in North America and marsupials in Australia? The answer, and the answer on your exam, is biogeography. There is pattern to how the animals and plants are distributed around the world. And to a trained biologist, these distribution patterns inform us about evolutionary relationships. So the evolutionary split between the placentals and the marsupials, this is an ancient split in the mammalian lineage, one that occurred when dinosaurs still roamed the earth about 160 million years ago. The placentals were marooned on these northern continents up here, whereas the marsupials inhabited the more southerly continents. However, by 65 million years ago, South America, Africa, and India are now drifting to join those northern continents where placentals would outcompete the marsupials when they rejoin, with the exception of that pesky possum that persists to this day in North America. It's a marsupial. However, the marsupials would thrive and radiate on this giant island called Australia that was, out here all by itself in isolation in the South Pacific. So hopefully this video that I'm about to show you, a short clip, will clarify biogeography. geography.
Next up, biogeography.
Well, biogeography is the study of how animals, plants, and other organisms have come to occupy the places on the globe that they do.
Imagine a new island being born in the middle of the ocean. At first, it's a hunk of rock, lifeless, but gradually, seeds and insects and small animals originating from nearby land masses get blown over on the winds. They come crashing ashore, pushed by the waves. Not all the organisms make it, but those that do, with time, adapt to island living, perhaps even evolving into new species. Just take birds. There are the finches of the Galapagos Islands, the birds of paradise of Papua New Guinea, the honey creepers of Hawaii, and so on. In each case, a single island species diversified into an array of species found nowhere else on Earth. Biogeography's also got something to say about why some closely related species flourish on different continents. It seems odd until you recall that Earth didn't always look this way. A few 100 million years ago, all land was part of Pangaea, a hulking supercontinent. There were no vast oceans to interfere with the movements of organisms. But then, starting about 170 million years ago, the continents drifted like vast rafts across the sea. And the species living along the edges, they were split in two. Fast forward to the present day, and you get a plant in South America whose close relatives grow in the tropical Pacific.
We can use phylogenetic trees as sort of maps to help us reconstruct the movements of organisms across the planet.